Hi everyone. So I just had the opportunity to lean the Torah for my local synagogue here in Sonoma on Zoom. Leaning means reading. So in Judaism, there's a weekly portion that you read of the Torah. It's called a Parsha. And it happens to be that this is a Parsha that I read on my bar mitzvah. It's rare for me to be connecting with the Torah and to be looking at it and getting teachings from it or sharing or talking about it. So this is special, and it really occurs to me to share. After the reading, I was asked to give a little drash, a little teaching on the portion, and I found a lot of beauty, a lot of meaning in this. So I wanted to share these teachings with you, and I also feel it connects very deeply with the current transits, but of course it does, because everything is. So this is the story of Joseph, the story of Yosef. Yosef was one of the sons of Yaakov, of Jacob. Now, the story of Yosef is really interesting because we have the situation where he was beloved. He was really loved and cherished the most by Yaakov. He was given a kasonat pasim, a multicolored coat. Yaakov felt that Yosef reminded him of his late wife, Rachel. Just really adored him and loved him. Yosef's brothers were very jealous, very envious of Yosef. And even Yosef had these dreams that were seemingly prophetic about his brothers bowing down to him at some point. So the brothers decided, I'm going to kill Yosef. Let's kill him. On the way to kill Yosef, they decided, hey, let's sell Yosef to these merchants that are passing through and make some money. So they took Yosef, sold him to be a slave. Now these merchants took Yosef and sold him to a slave owner in Egypt named Potiphar. Now Potiphar really liked Yosef. He, what's the Hebrew word? Vayifkedehu. Potiphar gave Yosef command over the entire house. So all the slaves, the entire house, Yosef was like the lead servant. So he really liked Yosef, took a lot of favor in him. And then we had the story where Potiphar's wife tried to seduce Yosef. Yosef wasn't into it, but she wasn't into that, so she framed him. Potiphar got really PO'd and punished Yosef by putting him to jail. So we already see a theme here, where Yosef's really liked, really adored, right? Given a lot of power or a lot of esteem or a lot of special treatment. And then something unfair happens to him. And he gets put in jail now. Same thing happens here. The head of the jail keeper likes Yosef and puts him in charge of all the inmates. So now Yosef has a lot of freedom, a lot of power. Yes, he's in jail, but again, he has a high position. He's respected. He's put in charge. This happens wherever he goes. And we have this story of the butler and the baker. They were both put in jail. And they had these dreams, and I was really struck by the language here. Vayirmu elav chalom chalamnu upoter ein oto. They said to Yosef, we had a dream, and we don't have an interpretation. And Yosef said to them, Halo le'elohim petronim? Don't all interpretations come from God? Come from Elohim? Saprunali, tell it to me. Tell me the dream. And so they tell Yosef the dream. And Yosef interprets the butler's dream as, okay, well, this is great. It means Pharaoh is going to take you out of jail and you're going to resume your service like you used to. The baker tells him the dream and he says, oh yeah, those birds eating the baskets from your head, that's actually going to be birds eating your flesh after you're hung. And yeah, you're going to be executed. And that's it. He tells the butler, when Pharaoh takes you out of jail, remember me. I was put here unfairly. Tell Pharaoh about remember me so I can be taken out of jail eventually. Now, this Parsha, this whole Torah section ends with, indeed, the butler is taken out of jail and returns to his service with Pharaoh. And the Sarah Ophim, the baker, was Tala, hung, just like Yosef interpreted. Velo zachar Sarah mashkim et Yosef vayishkachehu. And the butler didn't remember Yosef and forgot him. And I think that's kind of interesting. It's like a double whammy. The butler didn't remember Yosef and forgot him. So it's like a doubly true. So the story ends kind of back in the situation, right? Yosef's now still in jail. Nothing good happened. There are a couple really beautiful teachings that I see in this. One, to me, Yosef, this character represents this profound principle of faith and trust throughout everything. All these bad things happen to him. He's given all this love, all this attention, and a bad thing happens. He's framed. He's treated unfairly. Lots of love and adoration, even if he's a slave, but then he's put in jail. And then the butler doesn't remember him, and he's in jail for who knows how much longer. In the next portion, it says sometime later, eventually the butler actually remembered Yosef, and then he was taken out of jail, and then Yosef interpreted the dreams of Pharaoh, and then he becomes like the second in command to Pharaoh, practically the king of Egypt. And then the story ends where Yosef's brothers come back to Egypt because there's a big famine in all the land. And because of Yosef's dream interpretation, Pharaoh knew to save food or before the famine. And so Yosef's brothers come. And there's this whole beautiful process of Yosef forgiving the brothers for trying to kill him and then trying to sell him or selling him to be a slave. It's a beautiful and it's a complete story. And Yosef has faith through all of it. When you see the story through, you see that there was a plan, right? Everything was leading to something else. And there are so many different experiences of things being seemingly very unfair. If Yosef would have been victimized, if he would have been like, "Aw, man, why me? This is so bad. I don't deserve this," it would have been so much worse. That would have been adding misery to what was happening. But, all interpretations come from God. Aren't all interpretations for God? There's a teaching here that even in our life experiences, not just our dreams, but in the dream of this life, the challenges, the setbacks, the things that happen to us that are unfair, we're innocent, we don't deserve these things. There's a profound teaching to bring everything back to the source of all meaning. It is not for us to understand, to interpret what's happening here. There's this teaching in the Jewish tradition called Gumuzlutova. And the Gumuzlutova story is kind of like one of those things where it means everything is for the good. Even this is for the good. So you have a person having these bad experiences, and this pious Jew says, Gumuzlutova, even this is for the good. They're traveling on their donkey, and their donkey breaks a leg, and they can't get to their friend's wedding on time. And they say, Gumuzlutova, even this is for the best. What do you mean this is for the best? Your donkey just broke the leg. You're missing your friend's wedding. How can this be good for you? And then, of course, the story always goes that there are all these hidden aspects, these things that you couldn't know as a part of the plan. And that if your donkey didn't break its leg, you wouldn't have had all these different, you wouldn't have been in that town, and then you wouldn't have met this person that really needed a lot of help, and you helped them, and this person was actually your sister's cousin, and they actually helped your sister a long time ago, and you got to bring some healing and forgiveness to your family. And then also, if you would have gone to your friend's wedding, there was a big fire there, and you were being prevented from going there, so you can do these other things somewhere else. It's like, however you want to spin it. All of these stories, and this is in our own life, all of these stories have a good ending. And there's that teaching, if it's not good, if there isn't peace, if there isn't forgiveness, if there isn't love, this story is not over yet, right? The ending to all stories, like what's happening underneath the surface, is healing, is forgiveness, is return to who we are, is return to what we are, is return to a state of unity, to a state of peace and togetherness within and without. And so to understand that the source of all things provides the meaning for all things. Interpretation, our understanding. Oh, napkins are in there. Our interpretation and our understanding of things, if we are deriving that from our own thinking, we're going to be applying a very limited data set, a very limited perspective. And that could be a very tricky thing. if we're putting our own beliefs, our own interpretations, our own ideas into things, then we're going to be placing conditionality. Well, I'm trusting that this is what's going to happen, or this is why this is happening. And we're basically not listening to life. We're not letting the source of life reveal itself to us. We're saying, oh, well, this is why. But what if it's not like that? What if other people aren't what we're trying to make them? What if the events aren't what we think they are? What if things are not going, oh, I was put in jail because I'm going to meet someone there, and then they're going to get me out of jail. And then what if this person that you helped forgets about you, doesn't remember you, and forgets about you? It's like darkness upon darkness. You can imagine the psychology, and this is an archetypal experience. You're in jail. The metaphor of that, you're stuck, you're limited by constructs that you can't move in. The other aspect of this teaching is not just keeping the faith, not just understanding, okay, the source of all things and the meaning of all things can come from having a relationship and knowing and connecting to the source of all meaning. So I'm going to abstain from fear, from worry, because I know there's a plan. The second piece is this. Halo le'elohim pitornim saprunali. All interpretation comes from God. Now tell me your dreams. That part right there. Yosef knows that the interpretation isn't coming from him. But then he says, tell me the dreams. He's neither making himself God, nor is he separating himself from God. He's neither putting himself in the place of, I have all the answers, I understand everything, I'm really good at dream interpretation. I took a good dream interpretation class, and I can read the archetypal symbols, and I understand what all of this stuff means. He's not putting himself in that place of power and position. But nor is he saying, yeah, I don't know. Humans can't know. We can't know these answers. Everything comes from the source of all things, from Creator. We can't know. And the teaching is in all this, in this underlying plan, in this divine logic and order for all things, we are all given gifts, talents, skills, ability. They're given to us from the Creator. We didn't create ourselves. And our skills, our gifts, our capacities are the ways in which we are learning to be an instrument for love's plan, where we play a role in the unfolding of all things. And this is a thing that we can align with wherever we are, whatever stage of the game we're in, whether things are going great or things feel like they're going really unfairly. We get to learn how to cultivate this Neptunian attitude of neutrality and indifference relative to context. Like, okay, here is where I get to love. Here's where I get to play my holy function. There's a teaching well, there are several of these teachings that really recur itself in the Course in Miracles, which really emphasizes the two concepts. One is, I don't know what anything means here. I don't know the purpose of this relationship, this thing, this job, this experience, this place. So we learn how to create some more space between reality and our judgments of it. And then there's also the referencing, I am playing my holy function. I am an emissary. I am a messenger. I am an instrument of love. In love, as love, for love, with love. And those two together, it means we get to allow ourselves to be infused by the source to guide and use us and direct how everything and everyone wants to be understood and used according to purposes of love. So there's no injunction here to be in this lost place of like, I don't know, I just have to be on the unknown. There's nothing about our life journey that's actually about being in the unknown in the sense of this indefinite quality of waiting for some kind of salvation, this indefinite period of waiting or hoping for some kind of answer. The work is always leading us to know who we are and to know our oneness with Creator. And to seek, Jeffrey Wolf Green said, what is happiness? To earnestly know, and this is a rough quote, to earnestly desire to know how Creator wants to use you, the work that is intended for you, and to do it. Our deepest joy is playing the role in the plan of healing for all of us, fulfilling our holy function. This is where our greatest gifts, our greatest capacity, our greatest joy comes through, when we give and serve as the love that we are in the ways that we are given. So I just find a lot of beauty and a lot of meaning in this teaching. And again, this resonates strongly with this particular astrological configuration of Neptune square in the nodes, Sagittarius, Gemini, kind of creating some space for our interpretation and our meaning of things. Because suffering happens, painful things happen, but there's always that teaching. And I think there's like that, Michelle was telling me something about this. I forgot. It's like this Buddhist concept of like adding suffering to suffering. The second arrow, right? Right. So like the first arrow, what is just right. The first arrow is you get put in jail. Bad things happen. It's like there's a quality of life appearing as unfair or difficult, and there's suffering. And that second arrow is the thing that we create in our own minds. And there's just so much profundity and meaning and healing in that. All right. Much love. Shabbat Shalom. Happy Hanukkah. Reminder that today is the last day, the 12th of December, to sign up for the Essentials course at the early bird discount. Registration continues beyond today, and anyone who registers at any time gains free access to my upcoming retrograde class series. So early bird discount ends today. Check it out in the link below. I also have a free class coming up next Friday, the 18th, where I'll be introducing this course and also speaking about my philosophy, how I look at the natal chart. I'll speak to what is the natal chart? What can the natal chart tell us? Are some charts harder than others? So I'll be addressing these ideas, these questions, and also available to take more questions as well. So you can sign up for that in the link below as well.